So I saw a video recently with Carmen Saniovi who said, the more a client pays, the easier they are to work with. And she goes on to say that anytime she's taking a lower rate than usual, those projects are always a pain in the butt. Well, my name is Brittany Lewis, and I'm a creative entrepreneur helping companies and independent creators tell authentic stories from diverse perspectives. And I'm here to say she's absolutely right. And I'm not alone in this thinking. On this video, Carmen received over 3,000 comments, and I would say 99% of the people who responded to this video are also in agreement, and that's across multiple industries. From artists and designers to contractors working in construction to hairstylists, you name it. My personal worst client experiences have been on low-pay projects. This is something I've been trying to figure out for a while. It's a puzzle I'm trying to figure out. Why is it? Some of the opposition to this sentiment that low-pay projects are the most difficult projects to work on are comments that express that surely it was the provider who went in with the wrong attitude from the start, and that's why they had such bad experiences. But from my history, that's not necessarily the case. Through every iteration of my pricing, and I literally started from the bottom, I found that people who pay the increase, whatever that is, are significantly less difficult and demanding than the people who paid the lower price. When I was charging $50 for a logo, there was more than one occasion of having to chase down people for that $50. When it went up to the next step, it was revisions out the yin yang, but they paid eventually. I remember charging a guy $100 to do a full-length portrait of himself on a chariot with 6 horses and him shooting a bow and arrow, and I swear to goodness, if he had asked me to increase the size of one more horse, I was gonna tell him where he could put that horse. And then this joker had the nerve to be late with the pay. But as the prices went up, there would always be some sort of improvement, and I found that by raising my prices, I've had massive improvements in client experiences. I'm talking 1-week logo and branding projects that took 3 days to finalize once I submitted the final concepts. Once the design was chosen, there was no significant revisions, no back and forth, just easy as it should be. I'm talking consultation, designed, approved, packaged, and ready to use. But just in case you think maybe that was a fluke, I did an experiment. So in 2023, of all the projects that I worked on, there were 2 projects that gave me the absolute blues. And not so ironically, they were 2 that paid a lower rate than my other clients. Now I can hear the naysayers in the background saying, well, if you knew you were charging less, maybe that shaped your perception. What I will say, so that you have all the information, is that both projects were things that I hadn't had a lot of experience in. So I went in aware that I wasn't charging to my highest potential, but I was also super eager and excited to do the projects. So I was comfortable not charging what I could have and probably should have charged. I consciously made that decision. In hindsight though, in this point in the game, I have my creative process nailed down pretty well. So to me, although those were both projects that I technically never done, there wasn't a magical new skill set that I needed to learn to do them. They all followed the same process. So moving forward, that compromise won't be made, but I digress. That ain't got nothing to do with nothing. With these 2 projects, I experienced price haggling, miscommunications, slow communications, revision hell, scope creep, all of the things. It was so stressful. It was a super stressful time, and I really must have been on one because I had both of these projects around the same time. One of the 2 was so stressful that I would get nervous every time my emails would go off because I knew this client would be wanting something. And you may be saying, well, maybe you had a lack of boundaries. No, no, I had boundaries. They just didn't care. I like to think that this client really just kind of liked working with me or talking to me, because months after completing the project, they emailed me about something that I didn't even work on. I know for sure I had plenty of gray hair pop up in my head during this period. But reading through so many perspectives on Carmen's video and evaluating my own experiences in this realm, I can say that it happens more frequently with low-pay projects than with higher, but I think the reason is not about how much money is involved, at least not directly. I've had great client experiences and developed great client relationships with lower paying projects. So it's not necessarily the money or going in with a predetermined mindset or doing favors or anything like that. Money is just a vehicle by which this sentiment is expressed. But if it isn't money, then what is it? It boils down to the difference between a company or client being in an abundant mindset versus being in a scarcity mindset. It just so happens that people who are caught up in the scarcity mindset are lower paying clients, but you can see it with higher paying clients as well. It's just less common. There are plenty of wealthy people who are cheap as hell or are greedy and don't want to pay fair wages. Jen Sincero says it best: greed comes from the same lack mindset as poverty. People who exist in an abundant mindset or flow state of mind understand that money comes and goes and you can always generate more. So they aren't as possessive of it. But with a scarcity mentality, there's an inherent fear that there isn't enough, and therefore they are the most egregious when it comes to hiring a professional. It just creates the feeling of struggle and lack. They are inherently concerned about how they use their resources, which they deem to be scarce. This often translates as a need to be very demanding in how the people they hire work, just to make sure that they're getting the most out of this experience that they possibly can. The thing is, when you're in a state of starvation, everything counts. We were out of water recently due to a snowstorm, and every ounce of bottled water was important and didn't need to go to waste. Never mind the fact that water would be back on eventually and it will all be okay at some point. We were looking at each other open bottles of water like Lawrence Fishburne and what's love got to do with it? It created a sense of scarcity that can be dangerous to someone trying to get into an abundant or flow state of mind. So for clients in this scarcity mindset, rather than trust in the capabilities of the people they hire and respect that the pricing is what it is, they do their best to try and downplay the value of their ask. They haggle, they micromanage, they ask for excessive revisions and changes, which makes them indecisive. And I found that they even try to weaponize money because of the fear of it disappearing. They think that because they are unsure of the future and are holding on to every dime like Scrooge McDuck, then surely everyone must feel the same way and must be motivated by the same things. So they attempt to use money as a weapon and a motivating factor. Now, I'm not going to act like I'm holier than thou, because money can definitely be a motivating factor. And I often use money as a motivating factor to help push projects along. But doing so in a manipulative way, especially when it's not a lot of money, it's just wild. I remember years ago when I had a client who I'd had a great, successful first project with. He called me up, he said, hey, my wife has this t-shirt idea and it's just a few words, so it shouldn't take you long. It shouldn't be a long project. Since it should be easy for you, you aren't gonna charge me the same rate as the other one, are you? And I'm like, well, yeah, why wouldn't I? And he goes, well, I can get it on Fiverr for way less. To that, my response is, I don't want to put any undue stress on your budget. So if Fiverr is what you can afford, then you should definitely go there. I could hear the deflation over the phone. He took a gamble and he lost. And this hasn't been the only time that this sort of thing has happened. Here's the thing. I love money as much as the next person, but my response to these types of conversations will always be, I don't want my clients to have to struggle and strain themselves to pay me, because doing so comes with a certain type of energy that I would rather steer clear of. If you can't afford it, we can always revisit the project at a later date. Which is also why I recommend, if there's somebody that you want to work with and maybe you can't afford them right now, open up the dialogue with them about it and be honest about it, rather than try and manipulate them with money and then see where it goes, because you never know, they may be in a very charitable mood. This will help you prepare to work with them in the future, and it may even show you that what you're looking for right now may not actually be the best course of action for your business anyway. But if you're not honest or transparent about it from jump, then you're creating the groundwork for a nightmare situation. So to the first guy's credit, he took a roundabout, very insulting way to say he didn't want to pay my fees. And though it wasn't the best way to go about it, it gave me enough information to say, you know what, I'm recognizing this as a red flag, and this is a compromise I'm not really willing to make, but I do appreciate the consideration. In Carmen's video, she goes further to say that people who she's compromised her pricing for typically don't value her work. And I think this is also true, but I think that the lack of value comes from ignorance. Art and design are two of the hardest things that I've found to be able to justify the value of to people who are in a certain economic mind state or who are just unfamiliar with how these things work. And that's not poverty shaming or anything like that, which is a comment that Carmen received. Again, there are definitely plenty of people who are financially well off who are just cheap as hell. It comes down to what a person finds practical and therefore what they see as having or adding value to their lives and what they're willing to spend on it. It doesn't help that in our field of graphic design and illustration, prices are all over the map, and that's usually because of experience and expertise. And it's pretty easy to get subpar work done for a little bit of nothing on sites like Fiverr and Upwork, and now with the popularity of AI. The trippy thing I've seen though are those side hustle videos telling people about quick and easy ways to make money, and they have the nerve to list graphic design as a side hustle. So if people see it as a side hustle, then they're bound to feel like they should pay you like it's your side hustle. They won't value it the same as something that they deem to be essential. Never mind the fact that design is in every single industry in existence. Nope, side hustle. So the conversation that has to be had is multifaceted. It should be one of transparency for us creatives to explain exactly what it is that we do and how it adds value to our clients' businesses. And on the flip side, for business owners, especially those new to business, to address the scarcity versus abundance mindset. It's much more than simply making a product and selling it. Adjusting your mindset will dictate what experiences you have and what experiences you create for yourself and your business. One thing being a business owner is going to do is make you face your shit. That's important in any area of your life, but especially in business because it takes money to make money. So before you jump off and start whatever venture you're looking to start, it's wise to figure out what it's going to take and how much money it's going to take to get it off the ground and to help you to compete in an arena that we all want to see ourselves in, and what it's going to take to ensure longevity in your market. If you're already starting this journey off trying to shortchange the people who will ultimately design your brand and help you develop your brand's voice, then you're off to a horrible, horrible start. Another thing I've noticed though, now that I'm thinking about it, is that the most of these clients that I've had bad experiences with, their businesses don't last. There's no plan for continuity. And I think the lack of preparation, vision, and growth mentality, which leads to eventual lack of motivation and drive when it comes to getting things done, correlates to the way that these business owners behave when it's time to pay professionals. It's all connected. One thing I do know though is that my most valuable business lessons came from these bad experiences. And as much of a pain in the butt as they are to work on, because goodness knows they'll have you questioning all of your life decisions leading up to that point, they are some of the best teachers I've had. Every single project I work on with a client was a pain. I learned something to help me improve my business for my clients moving forward. What better way to know what's not working than having it shoved in your face? This sentiment is reflected in my tarot card of the Cosmic Gateways Tarot Project. It suggests that even though it seems like everything is crashing down and things aren't looking up, the destructive nature of these experiences is making way for new opportunities, which should spark something within you to help you determine how you should best move forward. Even if the conclusion you draw is that you don't even want to work with clients anymore and you just want to make art and share with the world, or you want to go into licensing or pivot and do something different altogether. There's a lesson hidden in these bad clients experiences in these low pay projects. Just don't let them keep you in a funk for too long. Feel it, evaluate what you could have done to make it a better experience for yourself and for your clients. Or you can take from it what might help you identify your ideal client and keep moving forward. It's like Abraham Hicks says, when you know what you don't want, then you know what you do want. So you want to use this. If you're a creative, what has been your experience with working with low pay projects? One thing I can say thankfully is that of all the projects I've done in the 12 years I've been a freelancer and more recently a creative entrepreneur, I can probably count on one hand the number of bad clients I've had. And I undercharge or used to undercharge significantly. Real bad. So suffice it to say, I'm a little grateful to have these or have had these projects under my belt. They've allowed me to avoid making some super costly mistakes as I move forward into higher tier pricing, and have really forced me to boss up. But I like to know what you've gone through. If you like this video and would like to learn more about hiring a professional graphic designer or illustrator, or you want to see more content like this, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.